In this explainer movie, I'm going to talk about using the box as both a module and a framework for constructing forms when you are drawing. We have, of course, already been working with boxes. I really like the box. The notion of thinking outside the box seems to have become so cliched no one is left in the box, despite the box being an interesting space to be in. In this video segment, I'm going to be encouraging you to think inside of the box. All of the basic drawing concepts we are studying are within the box, a toolbox, so to speak. Although this segment deals with a literal use for the box as a module for constructing drawings, within this opening paragraph there is a bit of a metaphor due to my perverse delight in urging students to think within a box in a world where so many people are stampeding off madly in all directions outside of the box. Let's look at how drawing using the box as a module and a framework can help us. The value of a box, a six-sided polygon, is for us twofold. One, that it's a simple and useful module in constructing complex forms. That is, constructing objects out of boxes. Secondly, the box is a useful framework within which to assemble form from a point of view in perspective. Using the box as a module to build forms could be used for things like drawing a house, which can easily be thought of as a box, or a room, or furniture in a room. Also a car. In fact, engineers allegedly refer to vehicles as one-box, two-box, and three-box designs. A one-box is a van, a two-box is a hatchback or a wagon, and a three-box is a sedan. You can see clearly that vehicles are modular constructions of boxes in the minds of engineers. Apart from the straight lines of a stick person, boxes are the most basic and utilitarian module or template for constructing form with. This is why it is apt to focus so much on drawing boxes with boxes, drawing boxes with boxes in a basic drawing class. But circles or balls, cylinders or tubes are other modules or templates that we could look at as well. As an artist who continues to draw for countless hours, you will accumulate the knowledge of how to apply more and more increasingly complex modules as templates for drawing. If you draw the human form regularly from life, as you should, you will go on to acquire many of your own trademark biomorphic templates with which to construct drawings. You will then be thinking outside the box, but you will always find drawing subjects that bring you back to that most basic utilitarian module or template, the box. Now let's segue into using the box as a framework to build form within. As a framework, boxes can be useful for assembling even organic shapes and forms in perspective. If you draw a box in perspective, a box which could accommodate the height, depth, and width of the subject you are drawing, either observationally or on a perspective grid, then you can draw the subject far more easily in perspective by drawing, or if you will, assembling your subject matter within it. When Michelangelo started a sculpture, he essentially started with a box, that is, a block of marble, and then simply chiseled away everything he didn't want, leaving a human, biomorphic, organic form. In a sense, the planes of the head might be like an unfinished sculpture that was originally contained within a box. It was originally a six-sided box which has been sculpted from that six-sided polygon into a very irregular and complex, multifaceted polygon with many small but discrete planes. If you took the 6 planes of a cube and chiseled away at them, shaved them off, into more and more planes, repeatedly chamfering the planes to produce more and more smaller and smaller faceted planes of increasing complexity, the cube would become more and more like a ball, like a disco ball initially, if you will, to the point where the distinct plane edges could be smoothed or filleted into a biomorphic curve. A six-sided polygon that was a cube eventually becomes a ball. In a sense, a ball has been constructed within the framework of a box. The two-dimensional analog of this might be when we create a circle within a square, as we did practicing drawing ellipses. In a lyrical, free-flowing, and far from mechanical way, the process I'm trying to describe here might have been how Michelangelo worked his marble. And in a strange way, it is how we might chisel away at a box framework with in a manual and tactile manner when working a very constructed and less lyrical drawing. Imagine drawing a cube or box from various points of view, in perspective, either forced, flattened, or isometric. You would essentially have a series of rotated boxes. If you placed a subject in one box, in perspective, from one point of view, it is much easier to place your subject in perspective from a multitude of aspects. In animation, animators will receive design sheets from designers for props and characters, which consist of examples of the subject or object rotated. These also show the modular, usually biomorphic but occasionally box-like modules that can be used as guidelines to assist artists in accurately drawing or constructing the subject from any aspect or perspective. As well, when the design sheets are of characters, there will also usually be some sample expressions and actions for the characters to extrapolate from and maintain continuity with the other animators animating the same character. It is worth taking a casual look at more technical drawing, and if you are students in some of my drawing classes, for example drawing and rendering for metal jewelry design, we will be obliged later to look at technical drawing quite closely for several classes. Let's look at what we might draw orthographically in a more technical grain. Let's consider viewing and drawing our subject from 6 points of view, as with the 6 sides of a box. In technical drawing, these are known as the 6 regular views. Although this is primarily a way of thinking more schematically for engineering, architecture, and design, I think it is invaluable for observational drawers and artists to apply this type of thinking even casually. Here are some of my quick classroom demos of drawing a toy dumper truck from each of the 6 regular views that correspond with the 6 sides of a box. Drawing from above and below would essentially be a plan of your subject. Plans are often used for, of course, architecture, as in floor plans or plans of houses. They are the classic bird's eye views that we looked at in film and with knolling previously. Although in house plans, these drawings would be much more schematic. If you draw your subject, here it's a truck, from each of the 2 sides, it is a section. And if you were to cut it in half and show the insides, it is a cross section. If you draw the truck from the front, it is a front section, and from the back, it is a rear section. To keep the drawings of the 6 points of view strictly sectional or in a plane or as a plan, there should be no effects of linear perspective. This is not the case in my observational truck drawings that you can see here, but my sketches do provide all the information I need to create a 3/4 view of the truck. And I can do that without actually looking at the truck, just by looking at my drawings. It is not hard to imagine each of these points of view applied to the 6 sides of a box. Now imagine turning the box to a 3/4 view, or any view for that matter. By doing so, it should not be too hard to make an accurate drawing appear as a three-dimensional form from the points of view in the plans and sections that are adhered to the box. As an aside, note that in some digital programs you can show 4 points of view of the form you are working on at one time. This is Rhino. I've only ever goofed around with it. I'm not competent at it. And you could, but you can toggle back and forth between them and others as you work. You can toggle plan views and sectional views, as well as isometric and 2-point perspective 3/4 views. You can select one of the views and scale it up and eliminate the others while you work, and then scale down, toggle around and select and work in one of the other views scaled up. In this cube-shaped form shown in wireframe in Rhino, you can see the object in isometric 3/4, linear 2-point perspective 3/4, front section and right section. Working in such a way as this helps encourage us to think and work three-dimensionally, as would a sculptor. It is very interesting to find yourself thinking in terms of more than one point of view, that is, three-dimensionally, whilst drawing. If you are drawing something, it is often extremely important to understand it from all points of view, and an appreciation of technical drawing and orthographic projections provides this, even when you are not technical drawing. As well, having sculpted even for a brief period of time, to experience form in the round could be very helpful to your drawing skills. Even when you're life drawing and making a drawing from one point of view, I often find it useful to move back and forth, side to side, to get a sense of how the model looks on the side that is obscured from me. In the classroom, we will take time to draw objects observationally from various points of view. We will take the time to draw an object in the 6 regular views and then draw or reassemble it in a box, on a perspective grid, or in a sketchbook. We should do this multiple times, and you can continue to practice this exercise in your own time with objects that might be more meaningful for you. Very often in life drawing, I have enjoyed rotating myself around the model, or had the model rotate or move in order to make multiple drawings that suggest three-dimensional form moving in space. And this is also something I have often asked students to try. After the drawing sessions, you can actually make little movies, not unlike a limited animation, or you can even make little walk cycles, as animators often do. In the drawing class you take with me, if the drawing class you take with me has a model available and is of long enough duration, this is an exercise we shall almost certainly try. Another exercise I have sometimes had students do is to create a fairly large 2-point perspective grid and many smaller sheets of paper, and lay many smaller sheets of paper on it. You place the smaller pieces on the grid and then draw a simple form on them repeatedly from various aspects. Once done, you can remove the drawings from the grid, shuffle them, and try and place them exactly where they should be on the grid. Or you can exchange the drawings with a neighbor and let them try and place your drawings on their grid, and you can place their drawings on your grid. This exercise illustrates how, as a painter or drawer who works in smaller size formats, you might keep a large grid on hand in your studio upon which to lay smaller pieces of paper to draw objects or views in perspective. This little movie seems to be unfolding in a less orderly fashion, I think, I hope, than some of the others. But I suppose what I'm trying to do is provide you with ways of seeing that might be useful to think of, consciously at first, that will later be integrated for use unconsciously and instinctively into your drawing method. I'm trying to help you think three-dimensionally. Another couple of tips or advice would be to consider are that are related to drawing with a box, within a box, or with any module is ventral and dorsal lines in your drawings, particularly when there is symmetry on either side of them. In drawing the human figure, this line is called the linea alba. It can be extended to run around both sides of a body, front and back, between the eyes, down the nose, through the philtrum, across the larynx, through the sternum, the belly button, and around back between the buttocks, up through the middle of the sacral triangle, and up the spine. You can use and measure this line to perceive the tilt of the head or the body of a figure. Another structural device you might consider for drawing is the notion of a spindle running directly through an object or subject as though it were placed on a lathe. You might do this with vessels and containers, mechanical object, product designs, and even figures. As with the linea alba, use of the spindle works much better when there's a degree of symmetry in what it is that you are drawing. You can break down and string out and even explode components on the spindle to understand how they integrate and come apart and then come together again. Retracing our steps a bit to the notion of utilitarian, universal, accessible to the beginner boxes as a module and template versus more complex, organic shaped modules that are developed the more you draw, be aware that you can nevertheless draw organic forms within a box. Like so many of the drawing basics, it is not a matter of one or the other, off or on. There is an analog spectrum of possibilities between boxes and organic biomorphic shapes as templates. I suppose cylinders and circles are somewhere in between. The drawing basics are simple, but they scale up and present nuanced, emergent qualities the more you employ them.